probably less so than any of the other two. But
the thing about the other two movies, and we're going to talk about both of them, but they are unneeded, both of them. There's not really a point. And Sydney herself, there's not really a point. She should have been killed off in this. The best thing that I could talk about in Scream 3, though, is it is the Creed scream. The one where Creed is featured throughout the movie. I think they're in that one song, "What If I," is that's the opening scene where they kill, I think, Schreiber's character, Cotton and his wife get killed. And it's like, it's kind of a weird song to be playing in the background, but it is like a, kind of a hard, fast. It was probably one of the more rockin' Creed songs, but all I can remember about it is he just, throughout the whole movie or throughout the whole song, he's like, "What up? What up? What up? What up? Yeah."
And then at the end, I think it's, isn't it My Own Prison? They play at the end.
What's This Life For, I think.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
What is life for? Yeah.
That is for hooray for the kid that lives on, or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. That should be the lyrics. Man, whoever,
I think Hire is in this as well, isn't it?
That's what I was thinking. Like, whoever made this movie must have been like the biggest Creed mark of all time. Every one of them, every song on there.
Wes Craven's like, "Well, I think those kids like that shitty Creed music. Let's just get as much of it as we can." Because he wasn't fucking listening to Creed.
No. This one opens up with Cotton Weary, and like he's riding home, and then Ghostface calls him. He's got to get back to save his girlfriend. Goes back, and then he gets taken out at the beginning of the movie. By far, of those three, the least memorable of the openings.
Aside from the Creed music. That's obviously memorable. From that.
It's definitely memorable, yeah.
And Sydney in this one is a recluse. She's living up with her dog on a ranch somewhere, working as like a crisis hotline person or something, just working on the phone or whatever, hiding out from everybody. And I guess the other thing with this one is most of it's based around the shooting of Stab 3 and the casting, like, isn't it Lance Hendrickson? He's the guy over the studio. Lance Hendrickson's in this, which is weird. That
is a weird choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the Roger Corman which Roger Corman's in this movie too. I don't know if you noticed that. There's
I think he's real briefly in it, right?
Yeah. So I think it's kind of a nod to him, that particular character.
This one too, this movie has a lot more comedy in it, it seems like. And I was doing a little bit of research on this shit. And evidently, like, they had changed the tone quite a bit, because just a few months before they started filming this movie is when the Columbine shooting took place.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, I think that changed a lot of aspects, the tone of Scream 3. So there was a lot more comedic elements added into it.
Well, that makes sense.
What's shaking, folks? Creepy Kentuckian here, flying solo for now, but hopefully not for long. Rambo Wrath is in the house. YouTube alum from the glory days. I can't believe WWE uploaded the entire Royal Rumble match on their YouTube page. Chris Zalewski. Steve is in bed right now. He's probably been fast asleep for at least the last 4 hours or so, I would guess. Rob Scott, what's going on, brother? How are you tonight? So yeah, this concept is actually Uncle Bill's idea for this show, what we're going to talk about tonight. Probably won't be a long stream, but this is a movie that I do not believe that we have ever reviewed on here. So the plan is we're going to review the movie and talk about, of course, what everybody talks about when they talk about Twilight Zone, the movie. And that would be the helicopter accident, if you will. And it's crazy. Like, I've been trying to read up on it, and I watched the Cursed Films episode on it, which didn't really tell me a whole lot. That was horrible. I hope the other episodes are better, because that sucked. There's all kinds of other stuff on YouTube that's way better than that Cursed Films show. Sean Clark. We'll talk about it here in a minute. I'll wait till hopefully Uncle Bill will get here shortly. Yeah, I mean, talking about NBC, the Peacock network or whatever, I guess it depends on whatever sort of deal that they've got with the network as far as what they can put on YouTube and what they can't. I'm not really sure. They're getting guaranteed money either way. Yeah, the Cursed Films, like I said, that's the only episode from the Cursed Films series that I watched was the Twilight Zone episode, and it really was not very informative or good. Kane Hodder was not in Twilight Zone the movie. He had nothing to do with Twilight Zone the movie, so why in the hell was he on the show? Why? Donnie Aldridge, Jesco was underrated. Change my mind. I'm not going to try to change your mind. Manny Gatillo, Peacock WWE Network is trash. Everything is getting taken out by the PC police. Yeah, that's just not Peacock, though. That's everywhere. So, some of the stuff that we did on DEADPIT, just probably less than 10 years ago, holy shit, if we were famous enough or whatever, yeah, we would have been taken down by the PC police as well, or they would have tried to. But, yeah, I mean, you can't help but just piss everybody off nowadays. Everybody's got their panties all up in a wad and all that. So, yeah, it is what it is. But if, like, they censor stuff and it allows me to sell off the remainder of my WWE DVD collection, without just basically giving it away, which what I would have done a year ago, I'm fine with that. I mean, as far as the old stuff goes, like, they censored WrestleMania 6, the match with Bad News Brown and Rowdy Roddy. It's not a very good match, for one, and another thing is I've seen it a fucking million times. So, I don't really give a shit. I mean, the network, mainly what I watched on the network was the documentary stuff, the interview, like the Steve Austin interview stuff, and the live pay-per-views. Every once in a while I'd go back and watch WCW, but that stuff just wasn't it wasn't morally offensive or anything, so they're probably going to leave that stuff alone. But as far as the old WWF pay-per-views, I've seen those. I watched WrestleMania 7 so much I could pretty much recite everything that was said on it when I was a kid. I watched it nonstop. There's a few of those shows: WrestleMania 7, SummerSlam 90, Survivor Series 90, I think, the one with the Undertaker debuting on it. Anyway, Cosmo Bubba. Rambo's asking why Lloyd Kaufman was in a dress. Again, 10 years ago, DEADPIT would be perfectly okay making fun of that. You can't do that now. That's just not acceptable. So, whatever Lloyd chooses in life, I support. If he wants to get his titties done and all that good stuff, I support him. So, that's all I'll say, Rambo. I saw that you did a review for Bloodsport 2 the other day. Or it might have been this morning or whatever. Bloodsport 2 and 3. So those hopefully those will come out shortly on Blu-ray, because we need those. Magic spells. There is a DEADPIT live stream tonight. Yep, I don't know where Uncle Bill is. He may be having some technical issues with that tin can internet. Call Broski. I'm watching your ride home. I'm confused. The Drunken Rob Zombie Halloween special was classic. Was that was a drunken, that was a drunken commentary, right? I can't recall which ones are drunken commentaries and which ones were regular commentaries. I'm thinking, that one was a drunken commentary. They're all up on the Patreon page there. See, DEADPIT on Patreon, baby. 61 fan commentaries are up there right now. We only have a handful left. So for that $10 tier, I'm starting to throw some music on there, some of the DEADPIT songs that we did over the years, as well as our project pre-DEADPIT, the demo songs for Hellord are starting to pop up on there. Wes Ray, what's going on, dude? Says Landis should have done prison time, at least a little. We'll get into that hopefully here in a little bit. So, Roland 666 says the Creep Show season 2 finale is next. So it's already the finale? What are they? What would it be? 5 episodes? I thought the first season had 6, so they're shortening this. But I know they already have the 3rd season in the can, so I'm guessing that one's probably coming out in time for Halloween, possibly. I just hope that it gets better from here, because episode 3 was the worst one this season. Rob Scott, DEADPIT's Patreon is the best deal going, hands down. Thank you, sir. So my deal with Patreon is this. I see all these people on Patreon that they are making a lot more money than we are, and they don't update shit. So I am happy with what we've got, and hopefully we'll grow a little bit. But at the same time, this is DEADPIT Premium, basically, is what this is. So everything is on DEADPITonpatreon.com, or we are in the process of putting it on there. 330 some audio clips already on there since October, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. Bloodsport 2 and 3 Blu-rays. I can live without. Hey, so Vinegar Syndrome's got these VSAs. They could do a 2-pack of Bloodsport 2 and 3. That'd work. I might buy that eventually. Dylan, hey CK, whatever happened to Blind Fuck Jackson? Well, poor old Blind Fuck, he was 97 years old when he passed away in 2015. So he was buried with his, Gibson ES 350 guitar. He called Old Bessie, and he's, we listen to some of his Blind Fucking Blues all the time. Saturday night, we get us some Bartles and James up in here, and just throw him on, We just got asked about Blind Fuck Jackson.
I saw that. That was like the lead in. Blind Fuck Jackson.
Speaking of blind fucks, here's Uncle Bill.
I am blind as fuck. I ain't no doubt. But do you remember Blind Fuck Jackson's collection of greatest hits?
Yeah. I've got one of those big anthology sets over there of the Blind Fuck Blues. That was what the anthologies.
Yeah. And Blinder Than Fuck. That was a good one too.
Yeah, or Zero Blind Fucks Given.
That's right.
That was his greatest hits.
Yeah.
Or you can order that now on deep discount. They've got a 15% off sale, and the CD only ends up being like $3.78 after that 15% off. So
that's good.
Go order that shit. So what you doing, Uncle Bill?
Don't forget about, though, his live album, Blind in Texas and Everywhere Else.
Yeah.
That was a good one. I ain't doing nothing, son. I'm over here. I'm over here in the room of death. Just waiting.
You're over here rocking, you bogging, you Vestron video bogging.
You got to have Vestron video bogging. All the hip kids do.
Well, I got the hat. See, hang on a second here.
Oh, shit.
I got a custom made. I wear it like this. Custom made CK hat. See, that's how I do it.
Son of a bitch.
So, and big props go out to New Era for hooking me up, player. Oh.
So, I was just thinking, though, it'd be killer. Like, I can always use this thing I've got as like a dolly. If we ever want to make a movie or anything, watch this.
Yeah, you can just do some.
Look here.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
You know what I was doing this afternoon, though?
What?
I was working on my lighting. See, I got a light over here now and a light over here. I want to get one of those mood lights, those moons that changes colors,
Yeah.
it's going to look professional as hell in here.
I'm going to get a bunch of fucking pyro set up in here, let it off.
When you come into the room, gets you a couple of sparklers. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. So I'm glad we could do this show because this is an idea I believe that you had, and we talked about it for at least the last couple of months. And I don't know if you were inspired by the Cursed Films special. I wouldn't think you would be, because like I was talking about this earlier, that episode sucked. I don't know if the other episodes are good, but Kane Hodder was not in fucking... Why were you interviewing Kane Hodder for this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what happened. I just started, for some reason, I went down like a rabbit hole of watching directors being interviewed, like horror film directors being interviewed. And when I got to John Landis, like he is by far the best interviewee of all of them, like Carpenter or Craven or any, like there's just something about him. Like he does really, really good interviews. But one of the things that like I noticed that never ever came up in any, and I've watched all of them. Yeah. There's probably like 12 of them you can watch on YouTube right now. Nobody ever brings that up. Nobody ever talks about it. Like I'm assuming he's at the beginning of everything. He's like, don't bring that shit up. Don't say a fucking word.
Well, I do remember we met John Landis, and we got a picture with him, got his autograph and all that stuff. Don't have a problem with him. He was in our documentary briefly. I mean, I don't know how legal that was when he was in there. I don't know if they got him to sign off on that shit or what, but he was in it. Didn't have no problem with John Landis. I do remember his handlers or whoever, assistants from Horror Hound, they said he's not going to sign this Twilight Zone, the movie stuff. So if you've got any of that, he's not going to sign it. So, and I know that Slippy said that at some show, I don't know, it may have been the same show, that somebody actually did get an autograph on one of the posters. I don't know if he knew what he was signing or what, but I remember clearly that they were telling people multiple times, if you have Twilight Zone, the movie, anything, do not bring it up to him.
And I can remember too, like, I'd say this was kind of off the record or whatever, but somebody was like, don't bring it up. Like, don't even talk about it.
Right. So what I think would be cool to do, though, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff to talk about with this movie. I look back in the archive, and it's real easy to do, by the way. If you want to look back and see if we've ever reviewed a movie, you can do that now on the Patreon page. We have never reviewed this movie.
I believe that, because it was never one that I really was like, you know, a big fan of to begin with, but let alone, you know, do a show like this. But
so, yeah, I mean, I figured it'd be a good idea to talk about the movie. I don't think, well, we'll get into it. I mean, we'll give a basic review of it. So the Twilight Zone movie, like Twilight Zone in the in the early to mid 80s, there was an 80s version of the show, right? I don't know. Did that start after the movie? I'm not really sure, but there
was like in the 80s, there was this, what would you call it? Like a big jump to restart that series. And I think what the plan was to do the movie and then do like the show like after the movie. And so of course the studios picked Spielberg to be in charge of like the reboot. This would be like a reboot, I guess, would be today. And they pick him to be kind of the head guy, and then they pick all of the different directors that will direct the different shows, which would have been Landis, Joe Dante, George Miller, and Spielberg himself. Right. So that's kind of the beginnings of it.
Well, I think now this was shot in 82, but the reruns of the 50s show was still kind of a thing around this time period.
Oh yeah, I think that was like the renaissance for that show would have been the 80s, like where people started going back and like really appreciating it again.
So honestly, like it's a great idea for a movie on paper if you look at it. I mean, you've got an anthology movie that has four stories in it, and I think all but one of them was taken from the show. Oddly enough, I think Landis is the only original story in it that was original to the movie. So if this was a success, you could do Twilight Zone the movie 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. So, I mean, I can understand the studio, Warner Brothers, wanting to make this movie. And they had some good talent. I mean, you've got John Landis right after the Animal House, which was a huge hit. And he was on the rise at the time. So, and George Miller from Mad Max, I mean, and Joe Dante. So you got a lot of great filmmakers in there. Spielberg, the most famous one of them all. So, but yeah, let's get into it real quick here. They had a wraparound story at the beginning of the movie with, is it Albert Brooks?
Yeah. And
Albert Brooks and, Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, this one is like, I don't really know how to explain what it is, but it's just, it starts out with, I can't remember if they're ambulance drivers or something like that, and there's some sort of drivers and they're on, so I can't remember. I thought it was ambulance drivers.
I think they're just driving around the desert.
Is that what it is? Just driving around the desert?
The end of the series, he's an ambulance driver at the end. Dan Aykroyd is.
Okay. So and they're just talking, and that's kind of the preface for where all the stories come in, because they're, telling these stories back and forth and shit. And then, as the wraparound concludes, he's like, oh, you want to see something really scary? And then there's the scene. I still, to this day, don't know what the fuck that he turns into.
It's like looks a werewolf thing or something, isn't it?
It looks like a chinchilla werewolf.
Well, there's a lot of good atmosphere in this scene too, because the Midnight Special song's in it.
Yeah,
and that's kind of his cue that something's going to happen. So,
not a good wraparound as Creep Show. I'll say that.
No,
like the Creep Show,
but it's not bad. I mean, it would have me interested at the time.
Yeah, it's probably one of the better things about the whole movie.
And Burgess Meredith is, of course, he was in, I don't know how many different episodes of Twilight Zone he was in. He's the narrator on this one as well. So people may not know, because he's not shown, it's just his voice.
Yeah, I think Time Enough was the one that he's most famous for, where he, like, the Twilight Zone episode where it's like the end of the world and he's in a library and the only thing he ever wanted to do was like have enough time to read all the books that he wanted to read. And then, like, right towards the end of the episode, he breaks his glasses. He can't see to read anything.
I really need to go back and revisit some of I've got the box set up there. That'd be something maybe to do this October. So then we get into the episode that, is infamous, the most infamous in the whole movie.
So let's do it this way. Let's talk about how it was supposed to go. I mean, just in terms of just like reviewing the movie as if nothing happened, and then we'll come back around and do the whole thing.
Yeah. So Vic Morrow was like just this racist asshole that's going into a bar. He says like every racist term that you can think of. I'm not even going to repeat it on here because I've already got the accent. Ain't no point in me. I can say that he said something about Orientals. I don't consider that's kind of offensive now. You can't call nobody Oriental.
No, you can't do it.
Damn. But yeah, I mean, every sort of minority you could think of. The N-word a couple of times. And Creighton Duke, he says it in front of Creighton Duke as well. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he does.
And Creighton didn't even break his fingers, man. It pissed me off.
Oh! One of the worst things.
So I think he lose his job or something like that.
Yeah, that was the setup for all this. Yeah.
So he, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then so the kind of rub for this one, the Twilight Zone part of this one, is he's this huge bigot, and so like throughout the course of the episode, he goes back in time to all these different time periods and different like races. Like one time he's a slave in America, and then there's another one where he's a Jew in Nazi Germany, and then the big one, the one that we always talk about, he is Vietnamese in the Vietnam War, which is why we were talking about this movie, is because of that particular part of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the catch, the hook or whatever. Like he's supposed to learn something through all these.
Yeah, he goes back 3 or 4 different locations as well. Like John Larroquette's a KKK member in this too.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's before Night Court. Yeah.
Right before Night Court, yeah. So yeah, that was the opening scene. The next one, we're going to go through these kind of quick because the next one sucks. I mean, it's not to me, it didn't fit. I mean, it may have been a cool episode of Twilight Zone, the show, but it just, I don't know. It's Kick the Can. It was Spielberg's episode. Which
Slippy has a point about this too.
Mm-hmm.
You go from Landis's shit, which even if none of that happened, it would still be like a pretty hardcore episode, to like this one, which is like the most saccharine, sweet.
Yeah,
it's just an odd.
I do remember watching the HD DVD of this because oddly enough, and we'll talk about this a little bit later too. So the DVD, Blu-ray, HD DVD all came out the same day, and it was the only disc release of this movie, still to this day. So if you see either the HD DVD, or Blu-ray anywhere used, buy it because it's worth quite a bit of money. $75-$80 for the Blu-ray on eBay right now. But anyway, the HD DVD looked freaking, especially this segment, looked amazing, man. I mean, it was up there with like, how we talk about House of 1,000 Corpses, how great that one looked.
Yeah.
I do remember the transfer on this is unreal. But yeah, I mean, it's the episode, you can definitely tell it's Spielberg. It's a group in a nursing home, which is basically like a big house. It looks like to me. It don't look like a nursing home, any nursing home I've ever seen. And Scatman Crothers is in it, and I think this is one of his last movies that I remember seeing him in. It had to be. I think he passed away shortly after this. So anyway, they talk about the game Kick the Can, and he has a group of them meet him out after dark to play the game. And then they turn into little kids. Right.
Oh my God.
I dropped my shit. And,
yeah, it's like, hey.
they all kind of dream about being young again or whatever. And then once it happens, they kind of want to go back to the way it was. Lame.
Look here, we're going to kick his can and go back to our youth.
I'm going to kick the can and go back to being 7 years old again.
You kick it too hard, you're a fucking fetus. That's why. Oh God, I'm a fetus. I kicked the can too hard.
Yeah.
What is the point though? Really, like, that's not really a Twilight Zone episode. That's not a twist. That's just a really kind of fucking cheesy setup.
And I don't recall the Twilight Zone episode, the TV episode of that. Do you?
I don't, but I know that.
I think it was one.
But anyway, here's to that lame piece of shit. That really.
What's the odds? I mean, Spielberg's episode was the worst of the whole series.
Yeah.
Or the whole movie. So, Joe Dante's episode, I liked it quite a bit.
Now this one I do remember the original episode because it's basically the same, except they've added like a bunch of new special effects and shit like that. But the premise is exactly the same. Like there's a kid in Joe Dante's episode. There's a kid who you can't say anything or even think anything around this kid that's not something that he doesn't want or something he wants you to do. Otherwise, he'll banish you into this like weird dimensional kind of portal shit, and he has like telekinesis and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. That's exactly the way that it was in the episode because I've seen that episode recently.
Yeah, and here's one I was looking up on IMDb. The older sister that's kind of messed up and is up there watching TV or whatever. That's Cherry Curry from The Runaways.
Oh hell, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple of interesting things about this too. Kathleen Quinlan is in this, and I'm like, because I remember from that movie Breakdown with Kurt Russell, I'm like, how in the fuck could she be an adult in this and then be Kurt Russell's wife like 20 years later or whatever it was? That just confused the hell out of me. Also, I would have bet my life, man, on that kid in this being Joey Lawrence. I thought for sure it was fucking not. Joey Lawrence.
No, it's
but
not.
It was not.
I can't remember. Who is the kid? Do you remember? Like the name?
I do not have it here, I don't think. His name is Anthony on the show. But anybody, if anybody here knows, just throw it out there. I don't know if he did anything else notable. But this is a pretty good episode. I mean, the kids, there's something going on with him. And yeah, I mean, I love evil kid movies anyway. I've always appreciated those. So I enjoyed this episode. Really,
Yeah, it's like if you took Carrie and the Bad Seed and put them together, that would be what this is. Mm-hmm. Like he's just a spoiled kid, but he's also got these powers. So everybody's kind of kissing his ass all the time. And the minute that you kind of mess up and think anything, like, I'm going to kill him or hurt him or anything like that, or I'm going to try to get rid of him, then you're just...
You could almost do a movie, because he only wanted to watch cartoons.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody else, we love cartoons, Anthony. No. And then the cartoons come to life at the end, kind of. So... Yeah. It's a good one. I mean, it's probably maybe my favorite. It's between this one and the next one.
Yeah.
Which is Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. George Miller's episode. John Lithgow does a great job in this. And the original one was...
it was... I want
Captain Kirk.
Shatner. William Shatner.
Yeah, William Shatner.
I wanted to say William Sadler, and I'm like, no, that's the dude from fucking Bill and Ted.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the more well-known episodes that people reference quite a bit, is the Shatner one. And God bless America, man. How old is Shatner?
He's like, isn't he 90?
I think close so. To 90? He would have to be close to 90 at this point. Anyway, so in this episode, Lithgow's like just a scaredy cat. He's scared to death of everything. He needs to take some fucking nerve pills, calm down, everything else, sweating. He don't like to fly in airplanes. He don't like much anything. So he starts to calm down a little bit, and then he sees like a fucking shit demon or something outside the window with the plane, and he really starts freaking out.
Ain't nothing worse when you see a shit demon on the
shit demon.
And actually, though, the special effects on this, the little gremlin on this makes like the original look like shit. The original is just a dude in like a costume. It looks like just a jacket with some fur and stuff around it, and like they put like a little mask on him. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot better in this. But Lithgow's great in this episode, and he's a lot better actor than Shatner is. But the Shatner one, like everybody always talks about it because it's always there's something on the wing, something on the wing.
Lithgow's just an amazing actor anyway. I mean, everything that he's in, like the season that he was in Dexter, that was the best season. You can't get any better than that.
It was, yeah.
So,
and he was in Harry and the Hendersons, and don't get any fucking better than that either.
That's true. He wasted a lot of his career doing that Third Rock from the Sun show, though. That show was not very good.
No, it was awful. It's like watching The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
I don't do that either.
I don't either. Sarah kind of watches it from time to time, and
dude, none of those sitcoms are worth a fuck. Like, I don't care, like what anybody says. You'll never get me sitting down and watch a sitcom. Like, they're just,
for the most part, sitcoms are only funny to people that don't have a sense of humor.
That's exactly.
I mean, especially the ones that come out nowadays.
If you just casually wanted to watch something, I guess just to like do that, then that's fine. But like, none of them shows are funny. Like Mom and all that shit.
Aaron Fry's on here with me. Hi, Aaron Fry. She has to make sure I ain't talking to a woman on here.
Oh shit. God damn.
So, that brings us to the end of the movie. They close it out with another midnight special wraparound, and I think they have a little quote from the original Twilight Zone with Rod Serling at the very end of it, and the credits roll. So,
and the lightning strikes.
Yep, the credits roll.
Roll. Yeah. All right, so this movie, I don't think it would have been that commercially successful if all that we're getting ready to talk about hadn't happened, because it wasn't a very good movie. It wasn't a very good reboot of that franchise at all. But it definitely didn't help that John Landis killed about 3 people. Like,
yeah,
allegedly.
Well, they ain't no allegedly, they're dead. I mean, they are dead.
But I mean that he had anything to do with it.
The heads rolled.
Yeah.
Literally.
So, okay.
Well, maybe they floated. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly.
So let's back up, because I think to get some insight into this.
Oh shit. Okay.
You have to have some insight into John Landis, because number one, I've watched a shit ton of interviews with Landis, and he's crazy. Like, he's just super hyper, and like he's one of the old school directors that doesn't seem to have a lot of regard for like doing things by the books and permits and shit like that. And to give you an idea, like, he spent the majority of his like early adulthood in Italy and in European countries doing movies like The Dirty Dozen and Kelly's Heroes and things like that, where they didn't really, like, over in Italy and Europe, so, like, there's not a lot of that, safety kind of restrictions and shit like that, especially not during the 70s. It would have been the late 60s, early 70s he was doing that. So, that being said, I feel like a lot of the people that he learned from, which were some of the best directors and producers, but also probably some of the most, not really concerned with safety people that were there. Now, all that being said, he is insane. I promise you, watch some interviews with him, and there's something that doesn't click there. I don't know what exactly it is, but he just talks a mile a minute, and you can tell that he's kind of off. So, in the original version of that episode, which was, what was it called? Time Enough, or what was it? No, it was called something else.
Time Out.
Time Out, yeah. In the original version of that, Vic Morrow, he goes through all those things and it doesn't really change him. Like, he stays steadfast that, he's a racist and all this kind of stuff. But Landis wanted to add like some sort of human part where, like, at the end of it, he comes to some sort of realization, and that part was that he's going to save the Vietnamese kids from the American GIs. So it wasn't even supposed to.
The people that he hates, he becomes, though. That's the thing. Like he's in one of the episodes, he's a slave running from the KKK. He's in Vietnam running from U.S. airstrikes or whatever it is. So the footage is out there. I mean, it was on. The incident happened in July 23rd, 1982. It was the final day of filming. And that's when shit like this always goes down. Mm-hmm. The footage, I mean, I don't like watching stuff like that anyway, but it's just freaking brutal. Like there is one specific angle that they show in that Cursed Films episode that it's like, holy shit. So I could not imagine somebody witnessing that in person up close. And there were a few people that did, including those kids' parents, which I couldn't imagine that. I mean, you would think those people would have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, well, they did, apparently.
So it was around 2:00 in the mornings when the scene was filmed.
Which that right there is kind of strike one in my mind for Landis, because I think even at that time, you weren't supposed to be using minors past a certain time.
Yeah, I mean, it says here that he violated California's child labor laws, hired 7-year-old, Micah D. Lee, and 6-year-old Renee Chin-Yi Chin, the Chinese kids, without the required permits. So his first film was like, wasn't it Schlock or something like that? It was like very low budget, I'm sure he pulled that in all of his movies, right? So
that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like he was kind of like mostly inspired by guys like Roger Corman, where, you cut corners and you do all these things and you get the most bang for your buck. And I'm pretty sure that that's what happened with this, is he was trying to do as much as he could get away with on this film, and maybe went too far. I think. Yeah. I really do think. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of people that are in different camps, but I think that he probably had something to do with this.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at it, and we'll talk about it as well. So yeah, I guess the kids' parents were paid under the table as well. They weren't on the payroll for the movie. Because they had to shoot the scene the way the scene was set up. It was at night. It was outside in like a desert area or something.
Yeah. And if you can go ahead. Sorry.
So the one thing that popped into my head, right? Cause it's Vic Morrow was he was at least in his 50s at the time.
Yeah.
One thing that popped into my head immediately, whenever I first heard about this and saw the footage, why would you not have a stuntman doing that? Why was the actor himself carrying these kids wading through like knee-deep water with explosives and everything freaking going off? And I mean, that's probably the craziest thing, because you're like, he's just a regular guy. He's not, somebody like Kane Hodder or somebody that can lift kids just like that, which is what about every stuntman should be able to do. Not saying that would make a difference in what happened, but that's just kind of weird, right?
There's a story where he was like talking to Landis about it, and he was talking to him about that particular scene. He was like, I don't know if I can do this because of just what you said. Like, he's an older guy. He's supposed to wade through the water. It's like 5 feet of water, and he's supposed to pick these kids up. And somehow or another, Landis gave him some sort of pep talk, and he decided to shoot the scene. He didn't want to shoot the scene. He wanted to use a stunt double, and he just kind of convinced him to do it, which is another part of it where you're just kind of like, I guess it was because of the way it was being shot. Like with a stunt, there's a lot of it was shot from the front to where you would see the face of Morrow. So I guess like you couldn't have a stunt double in that particular way. If he would have shot it more from behind, then that probably would have been easy.
So it was kind of a physically demanding thing for Morrow as well. And I'm sure it's psychologically. I mean, I couldn't. It looked nuts, like the footage. You're like, what in the hell is going on?
Even if it went well, like it looks like a giant clusterfuck. Like it doesn't look like anything that should be like really like in a movie. It doesn't look safe, like by any.
To me, you could easily do the explosions and do the helicopter footage separately. They don't need to be together.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So.
But the guy, okay, so a quick setup.
This is all in hindsight, though.
Yeah, in hindsight. The guy that's they've got a technical advisor there who was actually in Vietnam, who is one of the helicopter pilots it's like an actual, I don't remember if it was used in the war. I think it was used in the war. If not, then it was one that was exactly like one that was used in the war, the helicopter itself, which is called a Huey, which is that kind of helicopter that, can kind of come in and grab people and take them back out pretty quick. And it has like a tail rudder, and it's got the regular, tail spin part at the top. But so the guy that is flying the damn thing, I mean, he's well experienced, knows like what he's doing. He flies the damn thing like, in between what would probably be, the equivalent of trying to parallel park a car, which is this space that he has to get this helicopter down into to film this scene. And, the first couple of times that he makes the approach and everything goes okay. And this is like, if you listen to different people, you'll hear different variations of this particular story. But at some point, Landis, who's on the helicopter or on another helicopter around him, and he's got like a bullhorn, megaphone kind of thing. He says something like, I need you to go closer, which means like, I want you to go closer in, to get a better shot of where the actors and everything are. And there's also like varying stories about this too, about whether or not there would be like pyro, which would be mortar explosions and things like that. So if you ask some people, like that was never supposed to happen. And if you ask other people, like that was totally a part of it, like the whole time, and Landis knew that, and yada, yada, yada. So it just depends on who you ask. But, they get in close. And as they get in close, and you can watch this, there's like a mortar explosion that happens right at the tail rudder of that fucking helicopter, which causes it to malfunction. And it doesn't matter who at that point is the pilot. Like that thing's going down, and it goes down on its side. And when it does, it kind of does one of these things. And then just where he's close to where the actors are, it just cuts them in half.
Yeah, decapitated Morrow and one of the kids. The other kid was crushed. They died. I mean, that's the good thing is, not that they died, but they died. They didn't know what happened. It was so quick they were gone, so they didn't suffer anything like that. At the same time, though, man, there's just so many factors. Like, it's an accident. I know it's an accident. I know that, John Landis, I'm sure, thinks about it on a daily basis. But at the same time, there's just so much stuff that could have prevented that, easily prevented it. And the thing, okay, Twilight Zone the movie's an anthology, right? Would it have been any better or worse with 3 stories instead of 4?
No. I don't think it would have mattered, really.
I don't think it would have. I would have at least, I know the studio probably didn't want to lose the money on the entire movie. You should have yanked that story.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows what happened with all that, which anybody around our age should know, you're not going to be able to enjoy the movie at all, especially that episode.
To me, it's kind of the same thing as like Owen Hart. Like, I don't think that they should have continued that show like after he died in the ring, and I don't think that they should have put that episode in this movie. Like, there's just too much.
And I mean, the truth is too, if an incident like this happened today, the movie would not come out at all.
No,
you'd never see it. It's like that. Something like that did happen a few years ago with like a Allman Brothers biopic or something. Somebody died on the set of that. They halted production. They never finished the movie, and it never got made. So, I mean, there's a few disturbing things about that. And Warner Brothers has continuously re-released this movie on different formats as well. I did get confirmation that there is not a new edition of this coming out. That was the one thing that I was curious about, because Sean Clark did a Horrors Hallowed Grounds on this back in February. Typically, if he does a Horrors Hallowed Grounds on anything, it's going to end up on a Scream Factory Blu-ray.
Right.
But I did get, I don't want to say 100% confirmation, but I did, as far as he knows, they're not working on it. I know Scream Factory does a lot of Warner Brothers stuff. So, yeah, I mean, the only edition of this that I have is a VHS tape, oddly enough. Now, interesting thing, this is a VHS tape that was made in the year 2000. So Warner Brothers kept re-releasing this shit. Which, I'm sure that they got financially compensated quite a bit. Maybe that's why, the families did. Maybe that's why they can still release the movie. But, messed up.
Here's the thing to me, right? The thing about this has always been, how much shit did Landis know? I mean, we'll never know the answer to that. But, like, how... There's reports, and everything I'm getting ready to say, let me preface it by saying there's reports that, like, the guy that was the helicopter pilot came to him and said, hey, this is way too fucking dangerous. Like, I don't know if we're going to be able to shoot this. And he says something to him like the effect of, you ain't seen nothing yet. Mm. Meaning, that it's going to get like a lot more dangerous. There's reports of that. There's reports that he knew that there were going to be explosions and things like that and didn't tell like the pilot or anything like that. There's all kinds of different versions of the story. So that's always been my thing, is how much did he know or didn't know about? And you'll never figure that out now, of course. Mm-hmm. But the really interesting thing about this story is what happened next with the trial. And
well, it took years.
Right.
So this happened in 82. The trial wasn't until, what was it, 86 and 87. It was let's see. It was a 9-month trial. And he was acquitted on charges of manslaughter. This was Landis, and I guess all the production managers and stuff like that. They were all on trial. Explosive specialist Paul Stewart, tried and acquitted on charges of manslaughter. In a 9-month trial from 1986 to 1987. This happened in 1982. So that's kind of odd.
Well, the first trial that they tried to have was actually dismissed for, and I can't believe this, but it's true, lack of evidence. Like they had the first one set up and they stopped it for lack of evidence. And I don't know if that was they couldn't get together enough of the shit from the movie, like, to take it to a trial. Because to me, it's like, you got all the evidence in the world in the fucking footage, but there had to be some other parts of it, I guess, that they were trying to get. So there's a mistrial, and then it goes to another trial. And in that span of time, we're talking about years,
Yeah, and his career was still going pretty much at this point. I think after the trial, his films were kind of drying up a little bit. After what was it? Coming to America was maybe the last big movie that he did.
It was the last
while.
really successful movie he ever did was
Yeah.
Coming to America.
And then he would do like later on Beverly Hills Cop 3. The last movie he made was in 2010. I've never seen it. It's some sort of British black comedy, Burke and Hare. His career was definitely affected by this.
Yes.
So we could say that. I know that civil lawsuits came. The family of the kids collected millions of dollars from multiple civil lawsuits. That's what it says. And Morrow's family settled within 1 year.
And by the way, Murrow's family includes Jennifer Jason Leigh. I don't know if you knew that.
I think I'd heard that before, but I didn't.
That's his daughter.
That's why she doesn't need to work anymore.
If you look at them in the face, they look exactly alike. I never noticed it until recently. Anyway, but yeah, you're right. So criminally, they were all acquitted, and then civilly, they were all, they all had to pay restitution for the deaths. I
wonder if they individually, they said multiple civil suits. Did they sue each production manager personally?
They sued the studio. They sued Landis, and then they probably sued the producers. Like they probably sued Spielberg and all those people too. But there's stories though. I don't know, allegedly there's stories. So there's
plenty of stories.
Yeah. So there's stories about like what happened during the trial and especially with Landis's behavior and stuff like that. So there was a story that while the trial was going on, allegedly Landis went around and he would tell all these people, knowing that they would get back to the jurors, he would talk about it in court and things like that he was going to make a movie based on this trial. And of course, if the people wanted to be in the movie, the jurors that were the actual jurors wanted to be in the movie, then the implied thing was that he'd have to get off, because if he's convicted, he ain't going to be making the movie. So there's that story that he and there's other stories too, where he, after he would tell them that he would have huge parties and things like that for them and things and after the trial, he did actually throw a huge party for the jurors, which to me, it just seems in bad taste.
It is. But let me tell you something that I heard on one of the key things that I got from the Cursed Films, which that episode sucks. I want to say it again. I don't know if all the shows are like that, but there's a couple of documentaries that's way better than the Cursed episode, the Cursed Films episode. But anyway, John Landis attended all of the funerals, and he spoke at Vic Morrow's funeral. Now, you can say what you want to about that. I honestly think that he feels terrible about what happened. It takes balls the size of grapefruits to go to those funerals and especially speak at that guy's funeral. I couldn't believe that, to be honest with you. I mean, I could understand sending flowers and stuff like that, but man, to actually attend those kids' funerals that he caused the death. Ultimately, it was his call. You can say what you want to. He was the one in control of that shit. Those two little kids, Vic Morrow, legendary actor, done tons of shit. When I heard that, I was like, okay, I am sure that he feels terrible about what happened. And his career, it cost him pretty much his career. We can say that, because he would have been, had that not happened on the set, he probably would have been like Spielberg or something like that at this point.
Yeah, I believe that.
He's a great filmmaker. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but, that happened.
Because you look at, after all that happened, Spielberg basically just, washes his hands of him. Most movie studios wash their hands of him. The interesting thing is, he's still can make a hit. So if there's one thing studios, care about, it's money more than anything else. So because of Coming to America, they still kind of like back him even through that period of time. But there comes a point, where once he made a flop or, one or two, like they weren't offering him anything else after that. Like he's still got that stigma attached to him. And
so we're going to go through the questions and stuff here in a second, but this one popped up. And that's what I was saying. Cosmo Bubba says, if I were related to the victims and John Landis showed up to the funerals, I would have probably flown into a blind rage and thrown him into the hole that they put the caskets in.
Well,
That's what I was saying.
I think one of the quotes attributed to him when he was at the funerals was something like, my career will never recover from this. Like he said that at one of the fucking funerals.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, probably not. But these people are dead. So I don't think they give a fuck about their career.
That's true. I mean, I'm not saying when I heard that, because I know that would be very difficult to do. I mean, I couldn't imagine that. Not only being responsible for something like that and living with it, which should be, that's a punishment in itself. But he should, in my opinion, he should have served some sort of jail sentence. I don't know how long, but it should have been, a couple of years. Because that's one of the craziest things that's ever happened on the set of a movie, a mainstream movie.
Well, here's the thing, like that I don't know for the part of this that's missing to me is like I said, how much did he know? Like, was there, did the special effects technician guy, did he fuck up? Like, did he fuck up and do that when he wasn't supposed to, and that without Landis knowing anything about it, and that caused, the rotor to ignite, which would eventually kill him? Was that a part of it? Or did he know all that shit was going to happen and just kind of fucking let it happen? Ultimately, though, he put a helicopter, within like what, 25, 30 feet of a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And then, which, if you ask anybody, like the most dangerous thing are helicopters.
Oh, yeah.
Like the most dangerous fucking thing you can put, like, in a movie is any kind of helicopter stunt. Because there's been tons of them that have fucking crashed.
You hear about way more people dying in helicopter crashes than you do airplane crashes.
Yeah. So, I mean, he did that at least. I mean, he put, at a time when nobody was supposed to be working, he put a bunch of kids in there and, like, put a helicopter in there. Jeremy. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's about, as far as like we said, if they were to make a movie like that now and somebody passed away, multiple who passed away on the episode or on the movie, it would never see the light of day. You would just, I think that the reason that this lives on and people still talk about it freaking almost 40 years later is Warner Brothers keeps releasing it. It's still out there. Right? It's out of print right now, but somebody's going to come back out with it because they've released it on VHS, Laserdisc, DVD. It was in the first batch of HD DVDs and Blu-rays that were released by Warner Brothers. So I think that's part of it. I mean, and it's that's kind of one of the more shocking things is the studio is still making money off of this. It's not I don't know anybody that considers it a good movie.
No, I mean, it's just not. By itself with nothing else going on, like it's not a good movie. But it's a horrible story. And, I'm sure, I don't think Landis's career ever did recover from that. And I don't think it ever will. Mm-mm. But he also escaped like any kind of criminal charges, which is amazing. I don't think that would ever happen today. Mm-mm. Like, I think if the same thing happened today, in the climate that is now, like he would have probably been convicted of all manslaughter.
it wouldn't take 5 years to be convicted either.
No.
There would be cell phone footage of this shit going down. It would be all over the news the next day. Times have changed. I mean, a lot of the stuff, people are overly sensitive about anything nowadays. You've got LeBron James. Oh my God, I couldn't believe that shit.
LeBron James. What happened with LeBron James? I've been in like a bubble. I have no fucking idea.
He posted some sort of tweet about there was a police officer that shot a black girl that was getting ready to stab another girl. I think it was another black girl, right? And it's something related to that. Like he was like, "You're next," or something like that. It's talking about the next.
Fuck.
Okay, whatever. So anyway, though, I mean,
I can't think of anything I would less like to get involved in than anything related to that shit, like racial shit right now.
I'm the same way, but there's racism is in both. It can go both ways. So we got a ton of comments and shit on here, and I think that's all we got on Twilight Zone the movie. Again, if you see the DVD or Blu-ray or anything out, buy it because you can resell it for quite a bit of money. And I don't blame Warner Brothers. Well, I was blaming Warner Brothers for making money on it, so maybe I shouldn't
Here's
encourage
something
people to resell. Don't.
If anybody can find like an interview where Landis actually talks about it, that wasn't right after it happened, I would love to see that too.
It did say on the Wikipedia article that he briefly mentioned it in 1996 interview.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quote on here for it. I almost forgot about it. It says, quote, "There was absolutely no good aspect about this whole story. The tragedy, which I think about every day, had an enormous impact on my career, from which it may possibly never recover." So, at the end, he's still talking about his career, his career not recovering.
Landis himself would be a good one just to do a whole show on too, because he's had so many feuds and so many ups and so many downs and so many feuds with people. And he's just a really interesting guy, like really charismatic, but also like you can tell there's something like just off about him. Did you ever hear the quote that Eddie Murphy gave about like they got apparently when they made Coming to America, they were in like a huge fucking like feud at that point. And while he's out promoting Coming to America, Eddie Murphy, one of the reporters asked him if he would work with Landis again or on something. And he said, I swear to God, this is a quote from Eddie Murphy. He said, Vic Morrow has got a better chance of working with John Landis again than I do. So
and he ended up working with him again.
Yeah, and then he ended up doing Beverly Hills Cop 3. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go through these. Rambo Raff is on here. He said, "I know you'll talk more like this." Was a little bit earlier. When did we first see Twilight Zone the movie? What age? Do you remember?
I probably was between 10 and 13. I mean, somewhere in that general area.
I honestly think I was probably close to that age, maybe 10, 11 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a horror film. It's a good gateway film.
Yeah. Cinema Trash Man, Uncle Bill. What are your thoughts on Tony Moran? Everybody knows my thoughts.
You're going to have to explain to me what the Tony Moran story is, because I've not been able to keep up.
So, the Tony Moran thing, it's nothing really new, because he hasn't done conventions in a while. I mean, I think he's mainly working like haunted houses and car dealerships and shit like that now. They did get him at Scarefest though, for some reason. But anyway, it's like a compilation of a lot of the Q&As that they would do at conventions over the years. And Tony Moran's got the tough guy Joe Pesci type attitude. He acts like he's from frickin' Brooklyn or something like that. But I believe he's originally from like Burbank, California or something. Anyway, he's talking shit about everybody and everything. It's a 25-minute video compilation of all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah.
But he's just, I don't know, like bitching about, I think he's talking about Tyler Mane. He's trying to pick a fight with Tyler Mane's pissed off at, he said that Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter had something going on, that Halloween fan, like he's talking about nerdy Halloween fans, and the Halloween movie's piece of shit, whatever. I just don't like Tony Moran. That's basically like why I talked about it. The video, I understand that it could be taken out of context because it's just edited shit. It's basically like a stand-up comedy routine. It sounds like that's what because he repeats the same thing over and over again. It's like, oh, he got a piece of shit. Yeah, it's a piece of shit independent movie here. Halloween, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'll have to watch that. I definitely don't like Tony Moran for my own fucking reasons. But like I just don't like anybody that acts like that and charges like the amount of money that he charges for the fact he's in something for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like him for a multitude of reasons. He's a bum, basically. I mean, I know that for...
Yeah, fucking bum kid.
You told him, Moran. You fucking bum getting drunk on my couch. Take your Keystone Lights and get the fuck out of here.
You gonna punch that back till it hurts? Till it hurts, kid.
So, I think the thing too about Tony Moran is it's a lot like Warrington Gillette as well. Like he kind of tricks people into thinking that he is the Michael Myers from Halloween, when in all actuality he was on screen for 2 seconds.
Right. And he books all these places and they're like, oh, it's Michael Myers. You're going to get a chance to meet that ain't fucking Michael. It's Michael Myers' like face for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But there was like not the majority of the guy that played Michael Myers. I just think it's kind of false advertising.
Let's see here. This is another one Rambo Raff mentioned on here. What do you think about like their In Search of Darkness documentaries that they've done 2 of those? The Kickstarter type shit. And now they're doing In Search of Tomorrow, which is like a sci-fi documentary. Now, my whole thing with it is I want a documentary, okay? I want something 2 hours or less. Anybody can fucking film interview after interview after interview and make a 4.5 hour. I just don't have interest or time to watch anything for that long of a period. More or less pay $85 for a documentary.
I mean, I in some ways I think it's great for some people that like really want something that's that in depth. The only thing that bothers me about it is that it's crowdfunded, and I'm always real fucking wary of anything that's crowdfunded by people because I just feel like you're kind of like ripping people off. And I mean, it's their money, I guess, but at the same time, it's like you can make the fucking documentary now for sure, can't you? I mean, you got enough money from the other ones to make it. Some of the way that they go about marketing it too, and the way that they were selling it was a little bit exploitative. I just don't like carnival-y kind of exploitative shit like that.
Here's what another thing too. I don't like the fact that, and I understand that the In Search of Darkness was successful. You've talked about every slasher movie or horror movie from the 80s, so you've run out of that. So now you're doing fucking science fiction. I would rather them don't do movies, do something else. You see what I'm saying? Like it's a money grab.
Yeah.
I'm sure these guys don't even like science fiction shit. They're just like, oh, here we go. We'll get these fucking this same bunch of motherfuckers, and they'll throw down a crazy amount of money, $80 to get a damn Blu-ray.
I'm sure there are people out there that are like, why are they bitching about something like this? But here's the thing: if you've been doing this as long as we have, like you see these certain things that are like patterns that keep happening, and it's like they just keep repeating, and they're always exploitative.
Well, it started with they did the Crystal Lake Memories documentary, and then what was the Never Sleep Again? Both of those were crazy long, right? But I'm fine with that because that was $20, and so that is what it is.
Yeah, Robert Scott brings this up though. I thought this was the case too. That Landis segment was actually a Twilight Zone segment. The quality of mercy. I think Spielberg's may be the only one that wasn't an actual Twilight Zone episode.
Really, to kick the can?
Losing my fucking mind because I know that Landis's was. And I know that Joe Dante's was, and I know that fucking John Lithgow's was, because I've seen those.
Kick the Can was out of place with the rest of the movie. Yeah, for sure. Cosmo Bubba. Let's see. Let's see what else we got on here. Jeremy licked Anthony. He was in the Hogan family.
Oh shit, that's right. Yeah. You remember fucking the Hogan family?
Oh man, it had a couple of different names. It was Valerie originally, and then they killed Valerie off, and it was Valerie's family, right?
Yeah.
And then it's, I think Sandy Hogan.
Sandy fucking, that's right, yes.
Sandy Duncan.
Sandy Duncan, yeah.
Let me tell you something, brother. My name's Sandy, dude. And that was like the third rename for that show. So yeah, I bet he didn't act too much longer after that.
That was back in the day, though. Back when sitcoms like Family Ties, Growing Pains, all that shit was,
Victor Torres says, 4 months after Twilight Zone accident, I saw John Landis in my hometown of Philadelphia making Trading Places.
Yep. Which would have been a really successful movie, too. I mean, it was another one that it was like a big hit for him.
Yeah, that's a great movie, and that is still to this day the only movie that showcases Jamie Lee Curtis's tits.
Very true.
And I'll forever be grateful for John Landis for talking her into that somehow. Let's see here. Yeah, another option was they could have had the stunt man with 2 mannequins for the kids.
Yeah, I mean, there was a million different variations of that they could have done rather than have the real fucking people like do it at 2:00 in the morning, which still doesn't really make any sense. But he chose not to. And God only knows why.
Let's see here. Yeah, Scott's Wrestling Collection, the Allman Brothers movie, Midnight Rider, got shut down. One of the crew members got run over by a danged old train.
And chances are that it says people involved were actually found guilty. Chances are same thing would have happened in this too.
So yeah, a lot of people bad mouthing. Aiden says John Landis is the quintessential douchebag filmmaker. Cosmo Bubba, wow, what a douche. Axel says being at the funeral is commendable. Speaking at the funeral is in bad taste, possibly a show of arrogance and indifference.
This is just a guess, honestly, like on my part. Like, I don't know. He may have been like sincere about it, but I think it was more for show and to help with the trial than anything else.
Yeah. Cosmo Bub also says, I could swear Walmart has the DVD with their big horror movie displays every Halloween. I'm not 100% on the DVD. I just know that the HD DVD and the Blu-ray is skyrocketed, especially the Blu-ray. But as far as HD DVDs go, you would probably be more likely to find that one in a pawn shop. It sells for like $35-$40 online, which is huge for a HD DVD.
Here's the weird thing for me, man, about like Landis. I like Landis. Like, he's a hard guy not to like. Like, if you watch him in interviews and shit, like, he's really super like funny and charismatic and knows anything you can think of about old Hollywood. He knows. I like a lot of his films. I like American Werewolf in London. I like Innocent Blood. I like, Trading Places and Animal House and the Blues Brothers. But all that being said, he also did this. Like,
Isaac said that he got Tony Moran to sign his poster for Friday the 13th Part 5. And he says he was a dick. That's the thing. I've never heard anybody actually say that they thought Tony Moran was a nice guy.
No, he was a cunt when we met him, and I'm pretty sure he's still a cunt.
Rob also says Twilight Zone trial also happened back when the studios had a lot of power. It would be a lot harder to make money off of the property had he been found guilty. Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense. But the movie was already out and had been out for about, 3 or 4 years at that point.
There's also like a round table. I think it was on Dick Cavett's show. If you want to watch something super awkward, they had a round table where a bunch of different directors were on there talking about Landis. And if you want to see something awkward, just type that in. Like, type in Dick Cavett, John Landis, something like that.
Metal Luna Zombie says, I don't think we'd learn anything new on the In Search of Darkness documentaries. It's more like a long demo reel for newcomers to the genre to discover movies. Yeah, I mean, that's what I kind of gathered. I'm not about to throw down the money to watch it. And again, it's 4 freaking hours. Like, who's got time for that shit? Let's see. I think that's about it. Scroll through this stuff real quick here. Okay, so confirmation. Amazon has the DVD for $15 and the Blu-ray is $50 plus. So there you go. If you want it on, I watched it on Vudu. So I don't get back to the movie itself. I don't like the movie. I'd probably, if Scream Factory did a collector's edition of it, I probably wouldn't get it. I don't have any interest in it.
It's not
a good movie.
It's not one that I would care about watching either. But I would like a documentary, like a very detailed documentary about that whole thing. I know there's a couple of things like the curse thing you were talking about where they talk about it and things, but just to really get into detail too.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate everybody joining us, and had quite a bit of people in here tonight. So if you guys like these shows, we already have an idea for the second one. Like, we're gonna call this Tragedies in Tinseltown, Uncle Bill, aka Tit.
Titty.
So I mean, I love doing this sort of thing. I know this topic in particular has probably been talked about quite a bit, but like I said earlier, we had never ever talked about the movie or the accident or any of that stuff. So
I think I know what your plan is for the next one too. Are you going to talk about that?
Yeah, because
it's one that has not really been talked about.
Yeah, this is one that you kind of really have to go, dig up information on. And it's fucked up in a lot of ways. And I don't know when we'll get to this, but hopefully we will do a second episode of this, and I want it to be on Victor Salva's Clown House from 1989.
Oh, God.
For anybody that wants to check it out, I had Steve hook us up with an HD copy of this. I have no idea where the hell he got it. It's on the DEADPIT Roku channel. So if you don't have that, pick it up and you can watch it in HD. A super sticker. Holy shit, bulls. I've never got a super sticker before. $10. Thank you, sir.
I don't know what a super sticker is, but that's awesome.
It's super and it's a sticker. Thank you, sir. Scotch Wrestling Collection says, of course, Steve would have that movie. Yeah. Steve's our hookup on shit like that, though. He does all kinds of illegal activities. So, that's one that I think we could also do a review on. And there's a bunch of shit you could talk about related to shit that's actually on screen in the movie that's kind of disturbing.
Yeah. I think that'd be a good one because nobody really ever talks about that for obvious reasons, but like it'd be a good deep dive to get into.
Yep. For sure. And then from there I like the concept of doing, various stories on stuff that may have happened in Hollywood. I'm willing to bet, maybe I'm wrong, but just because Victor Salva was still fucking making movies up until, just a year or two ago, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet, I'll throw it on the line right now, that Shudder will not do a Cursed Films episode on Clown House. I can fucking guarantee you that.
No.
So.
You can lay it on the line. They ain't gonna do it.
No, that's not gonna happen. But
well, I tell you, you could always do like there's obvious ones like The Crow and stuff like that, but there's got to be some like little known horror films that we could find that have like interesting backstories like that too.
Mm-hmm. And we still I need to watch 10 Cloverfield Lane. You've already watched it, right?
I have.
That's one of the patron reviews. We need to get caught up with that. And then the other one is Alligator 2, The Mutation, man.
I can't wait.
That's from the guy that likes fucking with us every damn month.
Alligator 2. Alligator 2, fuck you. That should be the name of it.
So, yeah, members on the DeadPit on Patreon.com, the Baller and Shotcaller tier can request stuff for us to review. And we're actually going to do he had requested a sequelitis show, which is going to feature Alligator 2. And I think Hitcher 2. I've been waiting, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully we can do that within the next week or so. What do you think?
One of these days, we're going to watch The Exorcist 2, you son of a bitch.
Well, I haven't watched Hitcher 2 yet, so I can watch Exorcist 2. If you want to throw it down, by God, I'll watch it. I'll watch it I'll put it on there one night when I can't sleep.
You don't want to watch it, but you do want to watch it.
It'll help me. Well, Linda Blair is some kind of fine in that fucking movie. I'll say that.
That movie is one of the worst fucking atrocities that's ever been committed on film. Tell you. Yeah.
What's weird is The Exorcist 3 is pretty awesome. Like, can you think of any series like that where part 2 is just fucking like, I don't even want to call it shit.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
I love Nightmare on Elm Street 2 though.
I'm just saying though, if you compare 2 to 3, like there's no comparison to Nightmare on Elm Street. Like 3 is 1,000 times better.
Yeah. Well, see, I think it's cool to go, like I said, you can go on the Patreon site and search for stuff that we've never talked about. So we've been doing this show, started in 2005. So there's not a whole lot of shit that we haven't talked about, but you'd be surprised, man. So I'm fairly certain that we've never reviewed Exorcist 2. We may have reviewed Hitcher 2 back in the day. I can't remember.
Did we ever review Exorcist 3?
I don't think so. I mean, I can go back and look, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the cool things. If you're on there, you can just search for a movie, and if it's reviewed, it'll pop up on what episode and everything.
Let me tell you something. I watched that one again recently, and that is a hell of a good fucking movie for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah. That is a great movie. Yeah. I do need to get the Scream Factory edition of that.
Yeah.
But, Everybody, we appreciate you joining us on here. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Whatever you need to do. And check out our Patreon page. And check us out over at DEADPIT.com.
Bye.